Hello everybody, my name is Bat Dude and welcome back to Bat's Game and Talk, the series where I play video games and talk about stuff I want to talk about. In today's video, I'm going to talk about my favorite football team, the Washington Commanders, and how I would like to see them do in the off season. I have split this video into three sections. Section 1 covering the coaching staff changes, not all of them, but some of the ones that I wanted to talk about. Section 2 will talk about roster management, which is split into three subsections, pending free agents, cap casualties, and extension. And then the final section is free agency and the draft. So let's just start off with the coaching staff. So the Washington Commanders have finally finalized the coaching staff for 2026. A lot has changed, but I'm not going to go over all of them because I'm not that knowledgeable in all the different positions that we covered, but there's a few that I do want to talk about. Obviously, we're going to talk about offensive coordinator, David Blau. I was very shocked about this hiring. I did not think we were going to do something like this, but I'm honestly all in for it. David Blau has been sought out in the league for the last few years. Since he became our assistant QB coach back in 2024, he was looked at from the Bears, Jets, and Lions. And then recently, this year, he was offered, or I guess the Lions requested that an interview with him to be their new offensive coordinator. And because of that, we sought to take action and keep him here in DC by promoting him to offensive coordinator. And like I said, I really like this move. He's a very young offensive-minded coach who has been sought out in the league for some time. It's about time he's been given the keys to the offense, and he's already made an impact in the offense with Jaden Daniels. If you remember back in 2024 against the Eagles, I believe it was the second time. I forgot which week. I think it was week 16. It was the home game. That final play with Jamison Crowder in the end zone, that was a play apparently designed by David Blau himself, not Cliff Kingsbury. So if we could get more plays like that into our system, along with Jaden Daniels being more under center as what Dan Quinn and him both plan on doing, I think the offense is going to be fine. No complaints here. I did, however, was hoping we get Mike McDaniels, my bad. Sorry, I don't want Josh McDaniels. He's already with the Patriots. Mike McDaniels, because of his history with the team and his history with Dan Quinn, I felt like that was a clear no-brainer to bring him in, but obviously the team had different plans. And again, I got no issues here. I'm excited to see his high-risk, high-reward type deal. If it pans out, we can hopefully have him for like the next 3 to 4 years. If not, well, that's for a different conversation. What's next? Defensive coordinator. This one is a big addition and big need for us. So we hired Durante Jones from Minnesota. He was the Minnesota's defensive backs coordinator, and Brian Flores is right-hand man on the defense. So definitely a huge pickup because it was clear that the Commanders really wanted to bring in Brian Flores, but it seemed clearly obvious that he was either going to stay in Minnesota or become a head coach, which he should have been the Steelers head coach, but that's for a different video. I really like the move as well. I mean, we're trying to bring in that aggressiveness that Brian Flores has built in Minnesota into Washington, especially when we have amazing, talented young playmakers on the roster that could use him to elevate them and put them in the places that they definitely belong. So I'm excited to see that. Even in his press conference, he talked about young players like Juan Martin, Jordan McGee, Mikey Samerstill. I'm excited to see what he does with those kinds of players heading into next year. And I obviously, if we're going to continue the trend, who I originally wanted, I mean, I was delusional. I wanted Brian Flores. I think it would have been awesome to bring him in and just bring that aggressiveness that he has in Minnesota. But obviously, it was extremely unlikely. And the fact that I even had the thought is just like baffling. But other names that I thought about, unlike offensive coordinator, where I thought it was a clear answer, I would really like to see Raheem Morris as well. He also has a history with Dan Quinn, and if you remember the last time he was defensive coordinator, the Rams won a Super Bowl. So just kind of thinking of that in the past, he's had success, and now, as it currently stands, he's now the 49ers defensive coordinator, which I think is a great move. But again, that's for a different video. Up next, Eric Henderson. This one, easily the best hiring for us. He will be our D-line and run game coordinator. If you recognize the name, you know that he was on the staff for the Rams back with prime Aaron Donald, back when that D-line was just disgusting. So, assuming he still has it in him, will bring that intensity for the D-line that is very, very much needed. Because we have some players that I generally think can make plays. It's just whether or not we were putting them in the right position. You know, we had Deron Payne and Javon Kinlaw in the center, and then on the edge we had Dorrance Armstrong and Dietrich Weiss before they both got injured. So I hope that we can bring that level of intensity along with that Minnesota defense into our defense this year. And the last thing I'm going to talk about, and it's kind of like a little niche thing that I want to talk about. I don't think it's necessarily big, but just the history behind it, I think is cool. So we hired DJ Williams as our QB coach. And if you don't know, he is the son of Super Bowl champion and Washington legend QB Doug Williams. And honestly, that just hits home, because, you know, Doug Williams has done a lot for this organization, even now, as he's currently still with the organization on the management staff. I see this as a positive, just culture-wise. It appears that DJ Williams has been also highly talked about in the league as a QB coach when he was with the Atlanta Falcons the last 2 years, working with the likes of Michael Penix and Cousins. So, you know, I know the Atlanta Falcons QB situation, you know, is like, oh, that's kind of worrisome because, you know, at times they were not playing well. But honestly, I feel like him being here, he might have a better time to have some success. And plus, for the most part, it's not like we're changing a lot of continuity with our offense, given how we're bringing in David Blau to essentially keep some consistency with Jaden Daniels. So I don't see it as a bad hire. I think it's cool, just like the history behind it. The one thing for sure is that Dan Quinn has confirmed that Doug Williams was not involved at all, just so that I didn't feel like he was like bringing him in just because he's Doug Williams' son. He wanted to bring him in just because, like, you know, how he interviews all coaches. So I respect that out of Dan Quinn, and hopefully this ends up being a good... Dang, I got destroyed. Hopefully that's a good hire for us. And I think that's all I'm going to talk about. There was a lot more positions that we got filled, but for the most part, you know, I don't think they'll be that crazy. Maybe I'm wrong. I think Wes Welker as our... He's something on the offense. I think that's cool, though. But outside of that, it's like, I didn't think it was needed to talk about. Alright. That's enough of the coaching staff. Let's move on to roster management. So, like I said, this is split into 3 subsections. We're going to go over the first one, the pending free agents. So we have the most pending free agents in the league. We have up to I think over 30 different free agents heading into free agency this offseason. And I put out a list of players that I would like to see us try to extend or bring back. Now, I'm not going to say all, like, I'm not going to give a reason for a lot of them, because some of them I feel like they're self-explanatory, while others I will talk about why I would like to see them back. But enough yapping, let's go down the list. So in order of not really in order. I just wrote down these players. So we have Debo Samuel. I think that's a no-brainer. He was very good for us, especially when both Terry and Noah Brown were injured. Bobby Wagner, I also feel like a no-brainer. I know his age is getting up there, but you can't argue. He's still performing at a high level to this day. It's just, I feel like there's not that much to explain. Marcus Mariota, I do think it's important we can bring him back. I think he's generally the best possible backup we could have to pair with Jaden Daniels, especially since the two have already have a lot of chemistry together. And this is all assuming that he doesn't go to a place where he can get a starting job. Now, obviously, you know, the last 2 seasons he's played well to the point where it could be a chance that he has revived his career and go start somewhere. But given the current QB needed team market, I really hope he stays. Zach Ertz. Now this one I know is like very like why, because he recently tore his ACL a few months ago, and not only that, his age, I believe he's gonna be 37 when the season starts. I'll edit in the actual age when I edit this video, but you can't argue that he's such a good veteran presence, especially for a room that has, especially for a team that has a very young tight end room outside of him. So I would love to bring him back. Unfortunately, I could see where we don't. Only time will tell. But yeah, I would love to see Zach Ertz back, but there's a good chance that he doesn't come back. Jonathan Jones. Ooh, yes, Jonathan Jones. For the time he played, he was pretty good. For the most part, he did play as a backup role since he lost the starting job to rookie Trey Amos, which honestly it was expected, but Jonathan Jones has been reliable throughout his career, especially during the dynasty era of the New England Patriots. So, you know, keeping him around for that veteran presence is good, especially if we have an injury bug again and we need to rely on somebody. I think he's one of those players that we can rely on. Andrew Wiley, he was our tackle who lost the job to Connerly Jr. I would like to see him being brought back. Obviously, it'll be like as a backup move, just because, you know, we need to keep that continuity with the O-line. I know for the most part the O-line struggled this season, and it blows my mind given how much we've invested into it. I do think that with our new O-line coach, hopefully we'll get everything sorted, especially with Sam Cosmi being a full year removed from his ACL tear, and Laremy Tunsil getting healthy. So bringing Andrew Wiley back, I don't see that much of an issue with, especially for that backup position. Let's see. Noah Brown, this one, it could swing either way. I can understand, I can see both worlds where we move on from him or if we bring him back. If we do bring him back, maybe practice squad or as a backup, not really the main 3 targets for Jaden, but it could swing either way. But I listed here because when he was healthy, he looked very good for us. So I can see where he could come back, but I can also see where we let go and let him test the market. Dietrich Wise Jr., this is a big one. For the first 2 weeks that he had played for us, honestly, I could already see the impact that he has made for the team. And it just sucked so much that it only lasted 2 weeks. Because I do think that the D-line would have had more pressure against the opposing offense if both Dietrich Wise and Dorrance Armstrong were still healthy at the time. So I think bringing him back on a 1 year could be the plan, but given the need for younger players, I could see us swinging towards not re-signing him, especially with the upcoming draft, which I will go in depth later in this video. What's next? Trent Scott. I feel like I don't need to explain this much. I know he's a backup, but honestly, for a offensive tackle, he can catch. And if we're gonna hopefully incorporate some more trick plays into our offense, I think keeping Trent Scott is a no-brainer, especially since he's playing off the first touchdown pass Jaden threw to. So I think bringing him back is an easy call as a backup. Jeremy McNichols. Now, this isn't as bring him back as a 2 or anything. I want to bring him back as a fullback. This recent season, we used him more as a blocking running back, more fullback style, and I really think that we should bring him back just because of that, because his blocking ability is pretty damn good. So if we also want to reinforce that O-line, I think bringing Jeremy McNichols back and using him more as a fullback is 100% the move. Chris Moore, this is purely just practice squad move, because you know anything can happen with wide receivers getting injured again, and for some reason whenever this man was in the end zone, it almost felt like it was going to be automatic. So I think bringing him back on the practice squad makes sense, especially if more of our wide receivers get hurt early on in the season. So yeah, just practice squad move purely. Antonio Hamilton Sr. Now this one is very interesting. So yes, he's also pretty old. I think he was 32 when he got that starting job at some point. But honestly, he kind of looked like our best corner throughout whole year almost, for the little time he played. So I won't be against bringing him back. I think it'll be nice, especially if we don't bring back Jonathan Jones. I do think bringing Antonio Hamilton should be the move. Oh, this one's an interesting one. Treylon Burks. Yes, you heard that right. Treylon Burks. Now you're probably thinking, Pat, why on earth are you wanting Treylon Burks on your team again? Well, let me just remind you of that Broncos game, that one-handed catch in the end zone, and that should be enough reason why I want him back. He's showed a lot of flashes on our team for the time he played, and honestly, out of the list, he's a young player who I think the Titans made a mistake in cutting because of his unfortunate injury during training camp. So I think giving him an opportunity and keeping him in Washington, I think not only will help him develop, but also help us get younger and faster in the long run. So yeah. Next one, Chris Rodriguez Jr. I also think this is a no-brainer. Now, I will say he is a restricted free agent, so there's a good chance that we still have high level of interest to keeping him in DC for the long run. He was basically our most consistent running back this season. Obviously, there was moments where Bill Krosky-Merritt popped off and did well, but there was also times where Bill struggled a lot, and we had to rely on Chris Rodriguez a lot, and he was pretty consistent for the time he played. So, and I've been very high on him since his rookie season. So I've liked his playing style. I will love for us to keep him. And because he's a restricted free agent, there's a good chance that we do keep him. So, yeah, I hope we keep Chris Rodriguez Jr. And the last one I have on this list, just more O-line security, Chris Paul. He's just, once again, just O-line security. Alright, I think that's everything. Cap casualties. So I didn't go through the entire list of cap casualties because for the most part it was just like 8 mil or lower or slightly higher savings. I didn't want to list all of them, But however, I did see 3 players that have large savings and very low dead money. So I talk about those 3 and see who I think is likely to get cut. So the 3 I saw: Deron Payne, who has 5.6 mil in dead cap but saves 22.4 mil in cap space. Laramie Tunsil, 3.6 mil in dead while saving 21.3 mil. And then Lattimore has no dead cap hit while saving 18.5 mil. And if it wasn't obvious, I think there's only one, or just one clear answer of who I think is going to get cut, and it's Lattimore. He has not panned out since we traded for him, but there's a lot of things you can pin it on, like his injury when we traded him, or just the inconsistencies of the Joe Witt-led defense. But ultimately, we're not gonna lose out on money keeping him. We'll save 18.5 mil. We already have like over 70 mil in cap space. I think we're like the 5th highest in the league. So saving 18.5 immediately boosts us up to roughly over 800, or not 800, my fault, 80 mil in cap space. So I think it'll be the right move, and I do think Lattimore just needs a fresh start, or who knows, maybe he'll go back to New Orleans. But I think he'll only go back to New Orleans if Mike Evans goes back to Tampa. But yeah, I think Lattimore is the clear answer that needs to be cut. All right, the finals subsection in this section, we have extensions. I've listed a few players who are still under contract going into this season, but I do think are due for an extension, and I hope we could see an extension of some form, whether it be a long-term extension or another year extension. So here are the list. So I have Deron Payne. He's been the staple of that D-line since we drafted him. He's only 28, so he's still very young for D-lineman. I think keeping him, reinforcing that D-line is the proper move. Larry Tunsil, once again, no-brainer. We traded so much capital into getting him in the first place. I feel like it'd be wasted to let him walk next year. Ooh, Quan Martin. Quan Martin has been on the rise since his 2nd year playing for us and his 1st year playing under Dan Quinn. In his 1st season as a rookie, when we were still having Ron Rivera as our head coach and we had Jack Del Rio and just that terrible organization, Quan Martin did not see any kind of play time, just barely, maybe like a few snaps. But the following year, when we got the new regime, Quan Martin tripled his snap count, and he has looked pretty well since he's taken that starting role. Now, I can't put the blame on him. Last year, the entire defense was dysfunctional. That's why I put the blame on Joe Witt and not necessarily the players we have, because I've seen the players that we have play at their best. So I'm not going to blame Quan Martin for a down year last year. I still have full faith, and I hope he can continue to grow and develop, especially under this new defensive coordinator. Another one I think we should extend, Dorrance Armstrong, just once again reinforcing that D-line. He's been, if he did not get hurt, he was on pace to get his 1st season of double-digit sacks, and he would have definitely been our sack leader. So it sucked that he got hurt. I do think he's still a very solid player to keep and to reinforce the strength of the D-line. And to add on to that conversation, Frankie Louvu, another one that I think we need to extend. Easily our best lineman on roster right now. And it just sucked that we did not play him more on the edge, especially when we had so much injuries. I hope that we have him on the edge a lot more coming in the next season, and I just hope that we can extend him, because I feel like this is a player we cannot lose. And another player I think we cannot lose, especially to reinforce the opposite ball, the O-line, Tyler Biadasz. He easily has been the best addition to the O-line since we took him from Dallas 2 years ago, and just more help to protect Jane Daniels. I think no-brainer extend. Another extension, Jeremy Reeves, easily one of our best special team safeties, and he wasn't that bad playing actual safety when we were suffering all those injuries. But yeah, it's a no-brainer. I think we should extend Jeremy Reeves, and especially keep him with Tressway, who we recently extended for a year. And last on this list, our long snapper, Tyler Ott. Again, another good pickup. And whoever is kicking next year, because please, for the love of God, don't be Jake Moody. You know, Tyler Ott was consistent for us, so I think keeping him around for special teams so that we can at least keep some consistency with that is in order. Alright, I think that's all for section 2, so we're going into the final section of this video, which is free agency and the draft. Now this one's a little bit more lengthy than the first two, because I went through what I think are the team's needs and looked at some of the top free agents in those positions along with the draft. I'm not that knowledgeable with college football, so for when I go and talk about the draft, I'm mainly just going to talk about players in the first round rather than just players in all rounds. Instead, I'm going to talk about position of needs for those rounds and what I think we could get. But without further ado, let's go into free agencies. So after looking at the roster, just assuming that all the players that I hope to extend or bring back don't come back, these are the positions that I see that are the most in need from most to least. So we have edge rusher, safety, running back, cornerback, wide receiver, and tight end. So let's start off with the list. Edge rusher. So no doubt in my mind, the best available and no-brainer in free agency is Trey Hendrickson. I mean, the way he's been disrespected by the Bengals is baffling. I hope they don't tag him. I hope they let him exploit free agency, and you know, maybe we'll pick him up. He's easily one of the best edge rushers in this free agency cycle, and I wouldn't be surprised if he is the first edge rusher to be picked up, whether it be on our team or any other teams. I'm seeing rumors that the Colts are interested in bringing him in, so don't be surprised if the Colts end up getting him over us. Although, like I said, we'll love to bring in Trey Hendrickson, but there's a little, he has a market, obviously. But if we can't get Trey Hendrickson, a few other lists of edge rushers that I put on. Dante Fowler Jr., he's been with us our first year with Dan Quinn. I don't know why we let him into free agency in the first place, especially since he was our sack leader that year. It just made no sense to let him walk. So I would love to see us pick him up in free agency, and especially since we need the help we can get at edge rusher. Another name, Jalen Phillips. I feel like that's a kind of another no-brainer, but I have a strong feeling that Vic Fangio is going to do everything in his power to convince Howie to extend him. And I could definitely see him staying in Philadelphia, but if not, I do think he's definitely a player we should be interested in. Another one who's also a former Dolphin, Bradley Chubb. Another edge rusher who I think is definitely going to find a home pretty quickly once free agency starts on March 11th. I'm surprised he did not get traded for the trade deadline. It was only just Jalen Phillips, so I kind of feel bad that he had to suffer through the Dolphins' hill that most Dolphins players suffered through. So hopefully he'll find a team quickly. Hopefully, maybe we'll be interested in him. His age is definitely a concern, but can't argue he's still a Pro Bowl edge rusher, and we need all the help we can get. And last but not least, I do think this one is very unlikely to happen, but you know, I'm not going to count out Joey Bosa. When healthy, he's still a very strong edge rusher, but I'm going to be honest, I would much rather love to see him in San Francisco play with his brother, but, you know, I feel like I had to at least put his name on here when talking about edge rushers and free agency. All right, moving along, we got safeties. Now, outside of Quan Martin and maybe Jeremy Reeves, like, we really don't have that much in depth for safety, so this is definitely another position that we should definitely heavily focus in free agency and the draft as well, but the draft, I'll get to that in a moment. But names to look out for, I think we could go after Kyle Duggar. Another name, Cameron Curl, especially since he has a history with the team. I also think he was another player that was a mistake to let walk. Him and Kendall Fuller when both their contracts were up. But I digress. And I only put one more. Oh, because I'm okay. I can see why I only put 3. The last one that I put is Reed Blankenship. I feel like he's also a no-brainer. He's been the Eagles' best safety in quite some time. I have a feeling that the Eagles are not going to let this man outside, but given how they have so much talent on that defense, I wouldn't be surprised if they just let him walk for all the other players they have, because for some reason, Howie Roseman is a wizard when it comes to drafting defensive players or trading for defensive players. So we'll see on that. All right, next section, we got running backs. Now, realistically, there's only 2 running backs in this free agency cycle that I can really see fit well with the Washington Commanders, especially if we don't extend Chris Rodriguez Jr. And those are Breece Hall and Rashad White. Now, Breece Hall, arguably probably the best running back in this cycle, assuming that Kenneth Walker either gets tagged or gets in a contract extension with the Seahawks. Now, unfortunately, there is reports that now Breece Hall is probably going to get franchise tag, which honestly, I feel like it would have been a mistake if the Jets didn't. But if he doesn't get tagged, I would love to bring Breece Hall in and pair him with Bill Krosky-Merritt. I do think that would be a very strong running back duo to have. And Rashad White, that is just purely a Eckler replacement. And because Rashad White also played with Jaden Daniels in his Arizona days back in college, so a former teammate to bring in that has chemistry with Jaden. I would like to see that happen, especially if we're looking for a running back more so as like a pass catcher, dual threat, like Austin Eckler was. All right. Up next, cornerback. Assuming that we move on from Lattimore, we need to add another playmaker to pair with Amos and Samerstill. One name immediately comes to mind, and that is Trayvon Diggs. Now, I know Trayvon Diggs has not been up to his standard in recent years, especially with all the injuries piled up and his inevitable release from the Dallas Cowboys. But when Diggs was good was when Dan Quinn was the defensive coordinator, and I could definitely see us bringing him in and trying to hopefully fix him. And I think he'll be a massive addition to our defense if that's the case. But I can also see us not going that route, especially because of his injury history. So other names that I saw on the free agency list, Mick Robinson, Greg Newsome, Asante Samuel Jr., which, by the way, the fact that Asante Samuel Jr. was not on a team till like mid-season blows my mind. And James Pierre, which James Pierre was very strong with the Steelers. I believe I saw that both him and Joey Porter Jr. ranked high on cornerback performance. So bringing that strong player could be the turning point we need for our defensive backs, but only time will tell. But yeah, that's all I got for cornerbacks. Now, wide receiver. The reason why I had wide receiver this low is because I did not see this as a much need position of need, as most people think that because for the most part I do think the receivers we have are good enough. Because if you look back in that 2024 season, you know, the only like real big name receiver we had was Terry McLaurin, and our offense was easily one of the best in the league, with a bunch of, I wouldn't necessarily say no-name receivers, but not big contention wide receiver one type receivers. So if we like re-sign the people that I hope we re-sign, you know, I think our receiver room is fine. But just to entertain the thought of bringing in some new receivers, the list I got: Jawan Jennings from the Niners, easily probably, I won't even say probably one of the best on the market, but definitely a solid option. He's been reliable for the Niners, and especially during playoffs in the passing games, because he's somehow has a perfect QBR in 2 games. He had perfect QBR in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, and then he had a perfect QBR in the, I believe it was the wild card against Philly. So definitely for some trick play elements there to bring him in. So I think that would be cool. Another name that I think is very underrated, and I really hope that his respected team does end up extending him, is Wan'Dale Robinson from New York. He has consistently gotten better and better through the last few years, especially with this recent season, finally reaching that 1K receiving yard mark with Malik Neighbors being out. So I definitely think he's going to be a name in free agency for a lot of teams, but I do think that the Giants will probably extend him, especially since we don't know if Malik Neighbors is going to be ready by week 1, but his ACL tear happened very early in the season, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was ready by week 1. Another name, the last name I have on here is Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce is literally a touchdown machine when he played for the Colts. Literally, whenever that dude was in the end zone, you could be very confident that he will secure the pass in the end zone, especially when he had 44-year-old Phillip Rivers throwing the ball to him in the later half of the season. So I think Alec Pierce might be a big name in this cycle. I don't think a lot of people will have him very high, but I do think that he's definitely going to be high up there unless the Colts extend him, which, again, another player that I would be surprised if they don't, just because of how much of an impact that he has had for the team. Now, just looking at the free agency wide receivers, you notice that I left 2 wide receivers out of this list, and for a lot of people, they think that these 2 are probably the top options in free agency, with the first one being Rashid Shaheed. Only reason why I did not include him in this list is because, for the most part, he excels the most when it comes to special teams, whether it be a kick return or a punt return. And for the most part, that job is taken care of by Jalen Lane, who has been very good for us at that position already. So I don't think bringing him in would really do much. If anything, it's just, you know, it's another weapon to add for special teams, you know, for the most part, because you have to have 2 receivers in a kickoff. So for the most part, I don't see the value in bringing him in. I think he has better fits elsewhere. And the last receiver, Brandon Ayuk. Now, look, we can all agree whenever Brandon Ayuk played, he was a very good receiver. However, his recent actions have led me to not really want him on our team. The way he fought for his contract, only then to abandon the team after he got injured just showed that he wasn't really playing to play. He wasn't really playing to shoot for that Super Bowl. He was only playing to get the money. And the second he got his money and the second he got injured, he peaced out. And I just think that's like a big red flag. Like, that just shows no confidence whatsoever. Like, it doesn't give me confidence that he's going to be there for the team. It's like I think it was Dronde Campbell, I think that was his name, the linebacker that the Niners signed was it 2 seasons? Yeah, 2 seasons ago when they were really injured. And we're missing Christian McCaffrey for most of the year and Drake Greenlaw. They had Dronde Campbell. Oh, sorry if I'm butchering that name. I don't remember his first name. I just know his last name's Campbell. He bailed on the 49ers. I think it was one of the final weeks. Because Drake Greenlaw finally came back and he had more playing time over Campbell, and he quit his team in the third quarter of the game, which caused Campbell to get suspended by the team for the remaining 3 games of the season, and also forced him to not join a team to the postseason. I do not want a scenario like that happening with us, where if we give Ayuk a similar contract, if we bring him in, because he's guaranteed getting cut after June 1st, so that the cap hit splits into 2 seasons. I just think he's not worth the money anymore, just because of how he has acted since getting the contract. And again, I think Brandon Ayuk is a really good receiver. It's just that what he's been doing the past few months has not screamed, like I said, has not screamed that he wants to play to win. He's just playing for money. Which necessarily, that's not a bad thing, because, you know, for the most part, a lot of players want to play what they're worth, but they also have that fight to win. And Brandon Ayuk just does not scream that right now. I hope to be wrong, and I hope that everything works out for him, but only time will tell. And lastly, in the free agent search, tight end. Now, once again, another position that I don't think is as dire as a lot of people are thinking. I have faith in Ben Sinnott. It's just whether or not the team has faith in Ben Sinnott. So just assuming that the team is still not confident in Ben Sinnott's ability, there's really only one tight end I think makes the most sense to bring in, and that is Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely has been pretty consistent the last few years in Baltimore. That pairing with him and Mark Andrews has been really good for the Ravens. And since Mark Andrews got extended already, I can see them moving on from Isaiah Likely, which I know may be a big loss for them, especially if Mark Andrews gets hurt. They won't have Isaiah Likely as a backup plan, but I could also see them letting him go. And if they do, I do think that we should pursue him. Alrighty, so that's the end of free agency, and now the final section, the draft. So looking at the draft, the Washington Commanders have a total of 6 picks. We have a first-round pick, a third-round pick, a fifth-round pick, and we have 2 sixth-round picks and 1 seventh-round pick. Now, like I said at the beginning of this section, I am not super knowledgeable when it comes to college football. It is just not my area. I know a lot of people love it. I want to get into it. I just haven't yet. But once I do, whenever I make future videos similar to this, hopefully I'll be more knowledgeable in college football. But for now, the only area I'm really knowledgeable is players expected to go in the first round. So because of that, and because we don't have a second round pick, only the first round is going to talk about specific players, and for other picks, I will just talk about position of need that we could fill at that specific pick. Now, with our first round pick, there are many, many, many options that I think that can happen for us. I could see us trading back, especially since we don't need to draft a quarterback this season. I could see us trading back to a team who's QB needy, but because of how weak this QB cycle is for the draft, I don't see a lot of teams trading up unless there's a specific either like defensive player or offensive player that they really, really like. I don't see a trade back fully happening, but I wouldn't be against it, given how our position in need we can pick in the later round, in the first round. But assuming we don't trade back, obviously two positions that are no-brainer, either edge rusher or safety. If it's safety, I think hands down it's got to be Caleb Downs. He's arguably the best safety in this draft, and he's definitely not going to leave the top 10. If we don't pick him up, the Bengals are 100% going to pick him up, because the Bengals also a team that desperately need to fix their defense, and he could definitely be a good fit for them. I think he could also be a good fit for us. Only time will tell, but I think if we go the safety route, it 100% needs to be Caleb Downs. Now, if we go the edge rusher route, there's a few names that come to mind. I hope I don't butcher first name, correct me if I'm wrong. Arvell Reese and Ruben Bain Jr. Easily, those two also are one of the best edge rushers in the draft. But to be honest, this edge rusher class is very stacked. So there's a lot of names that I didn't put on here. I just put two that I think or could see us drafting with that 7th overall pick. And I'm going to sound like a broken record. Only time will tell. Now, for our third round pick 71. There are three positions that I could see here, depending on how we draft in the first round. I could see us picking up a safety, an edge rusher, or a cornerback, much like how we took a cornerback in the second round the last 2 years, with Samerstill and Amos being those respective picks. And then obviously edge rusher if we go the safety route, or a safety if we go the edge rusher route. Now in the 5th round, which we are currently at pick 145, I think that this will be a spot where I could feel comfortable picking an offensive piece, whether that be wide receiver or running back, who knows. But I do think that could be where we can finally kind of dip our toes into that offense. I think we could lean more towards running back, just seeing how free agency goes. For the most part, like I said, I think our wide receiver room currently is fine. Just need to re-sign a bunch of key players. And I merged the 6th and 7th round together, not because of annoying kids, just because it was just simpler that way. Since they're late round picks for the most part, you're drafting practice squad or potential steals in the draft, like how we picked Bill Krosky Merritt in the 7th round, and he ended up being a starter for us. So for the most part, these are just best position available, and also looking at position of need. You know, we can swing tight end, we can swing running back, we can swing wide receiver, corner, anything is possible. Just whatever is the best available at those picks, honestly, I think will be fine. And yeah, honestly, I kind of hope that we had more picks. You know, I've been very vocal to my friends about the Laremy Tunsil trade. I've had my issues with it just because of how much we gave up. Now, granted, Laremy Tunsil is a amazing offensive tackler, definitely gonna be up there regarded as some of the best linemen in history. I just find it crazy that Houston traded him, especially with Houston having their own O-line troubles as it is, but I digress. Yeah, I think that covers almost everything. Yeah, I think that does it for today's episode of Bass Gaming Talk. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you think I missed something or missed a player that you want to give my opinions on, I'll look in the comments. You know, good constructive feedback is always nice. No typical, oh, this guy doesn't know ball. Oh, who let this guy talk? Why, he's just stupid. Like, no, I want to have some good conversations because, you know, for the most part, we all enjoy football, assuming whoever watches this video. You know, I've been a Commanders fan for almost my entire life. Loved this team back in the good old days. RG3 at QB, so this is like the first time in my lifetime where I genuinely feel like we're heading in the right direction. It's just whether or not we make the right decisions is the main question. I've been kind of conflicted with Adam Peters these first 2 seasons. Just because the first year we made a lot of good decisions, but then the following year we focused too hard on one side of the ball, which inevitably collapsed the other side. So hopefully in this offseason we correct those mistakes. Yeah, outside of that, thank you all for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.